Hi everyone, welcome back to Code Eater. In this video, we are going to create a mind-blowing project. And this mind-blowing project is that we are going to create our own decentralized file system. So till now, you might have used Google Drive or Dropbox in order to upload your images, right? Which are actually centralized system. But in this video, we are going to create our decentralized file system with the help of which we can upload our images on this decentralized file system. And this decentralized file system will have a lot of different functionality, like we can upload our images, we can share the access of our images, and also we can revoke the access of the images. So this will be a mind-blowing project, as I said. So let's start. And the technologies that we are going to use in this project will be React.js, Ether.js, and Solidity. So if you do not know anything about React.js or Solidity, I already created a video on this, good video on this, so you can watch that video before watching this video. So let's start. Now let us see what we are going to create in our decentralized application. So you can see the heading of our decentralized application is that it is a G Drive 3.0. Normally the Google Drive that we use is a 2.0, right? Because it is based on internet, but it will be based on decentralization. So that's why G Drive 3.0. Now in this, we have this account, selected account option, and I can change it whenever I will change my account in my MetaMask wallet. So let's say if I will select this account, you will see that I have now this account as my connected account. Okay, so this will be the first functionality that we are going to introduce in order to have the connected account with MetaMask wallet. Now another functionality that you are going to see is this functionality, right? Choose an image option. And once I will choose an image and once I will upload it, you will see your image on this G drive. Let me show you that. So I will go to choose image. Let me select some small image so that it will not take a lot of amount of time to get uploaded. I will click on upload file. Now we need to wait for some time because it is getting uploaded on Pinata. Okay, so now you can clearly see that localhost says 3000 and image successfully uploaded, means successfully image uploaded. I will click on OK. So once I will click on OK, I need to sign this particular transaction that, okay, this is my image. Okay. So I will click on confirm. Now we have to wait for our transaction to get confirmed, at MetaMask wallet. So now you can see that this transaction is confirmed, and now we can check it by clicking on this get data button. So you can see as soon as I have clicked on get data button, I'm seeing 3 images on my screen, right? And all these 3 images are actually stored on Pinata. Actually, I have already uploaded these images before. That's why you are seeing these 2 images as well. But this image, if you will see, it is uploaded on Pinata, or I will say on IPFS. So you can see the gateway.pinata.cloud, okay, and /IPFS, and this is your bigger size of your image, okay. And not only that, another functionality that we are going to have in our decentralized application is that we can give access of our G drive to any other user as well. So let's say I want to give my access to any other address. Let's say I want to go to this address, or let's say any address. Let me select this address. Let me copy this address. Okay, I want to give access to this account of my G drive. Okay, so I will go back again to my original account. I think this was my original account. Yeah, let me check. Yeah, this was the original account. And I will click on share, and I will paste the address with whom I want to share my G drive access. And then I will click on share. So again, I need to sign this transaction because this is being done on the blockchain. I will confirm, and let's wait again for our transaction to get confirmed. So you can see that it is in pending state, this allow function, and this is done. Okay. And if you will see by going to the people with access, okay, I have given access to 2 people till now. So I was doing this beforehand as well. So that's why. So you can see that I have given access to this 1CB address and this 465 address that I have added currently only right now in front of you. So let's go to these addresses. Let me have this 465. Okay, let me go to this 465 address and let me copy this address as well, right? Let me copy this address. Let me go to the address 465. I think this was the address. No, this was not 465. Okay, no, this is also not. Okay, this one is, I think, 465. Yeah. So now if this 465 want to access my G drive, he will simply, or he or she will simply paste my Google Drive address. Okay. and it will click on, like, this person will click on get data, and you can clearly see that all my images are actually accessible to this particular address. Okay, and let me make sure that it is not accessible by anyone else, right? So let me go to some random account, let me paste my address again, and let me get data. So you can see that you don't have access, so you cannot access my account because I haven't given you any kind of access. So this is what we are going to create in our decentralized application. I hope you are excited for this project, and if you are, please comment below. I am excited. So let's start. Now, before moving further, I think it would be better to discuss the algorithm that we are going to have in our smart contract. Means what we are going to do in our smart contract, so that we have a clear idea of what we are going to do and in what way we are going to do, right? So let us understand that before moving to our code part. So in our smart contract development, there can be a user or there can be multiple users who want to upload their images on IPFS network. And in order to upload their images on IPFS network, they are going to use Pinata as a service. Okay, this Pinata as a service. Now, what is Pinata? So Pinata is a web-based pinning service that allows user to easily store, manage, and distribute files on the IPFS network. Okay, so this will actually help us in easily, in order to store, manage, and distribute our files on IPFS network. And if you are not aware about IPFS network, then IPFS is simply a distributed peer-to-peer file system that allows user to store, share, and access files in a decentralized network. So till now, whatever network or till now, whatever storage medium you have used, let's say Google Drive or let's say Dropbox or let's say any other, service that actually help you in uploading your images or files on it, those services are actually centralized in nature. But in our case, the service that we are going to use, the network that we are going to use will be a decentralized network, so that we can create our decentralized Google Drive. Okay, and that decentralized network is interplanetary file system, that is IPFS. Now, this user will actually upload his or her image on this IPFS network, and this user can also give access to his or her images to the group of people. So this person, as we have seen in the demo of the website as well, that this person can provide the access of his or her images to these group of people, and this group of people can also have access to your images. Okay, so this will be the simple algorithm that we are going to have in our smart contract. So this will be our small algorithm, and the data types that we are going to have in our smart contract will be a access struct. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to demonstrate you with all the data types that we are going to have in our smart contract, so that we can visualize all our data types. Okay, so the first data type that we are going to create will be a struct access. Now, with the help of this struct access, we are going to give access to our drive to any other user. So let's say if ABC wants to give access to DEF, then ABC will have the address of DEF, and for this access, which is actually a bull type variable, he will make it true. Okay, then we will have a mapping. Now in this mapping, we are going to maintain the list of the people that we have given access to. So as I said, ABC, let's say, has given access to, for example, here DEF. Okay, so I will have DEF. Okay, so ABC has given access to DEF and it will be true. Okay, so this is how we are going to give access to a particular address. Let's say ABC wants to revoke some access. In that case, what he or she will do, he will simply remove this true, or he will simply change this true to false. So let's say if earlier ABC has given access to ABD, okay, and it is true at that point of time when he has given access to ABD. But after some time, ABC realizes that, okay, I do not want to give access to this ABD. Then what ABC can do is, ABC can simply make this variable false. Okay, so this is the utility of our access struct, and this is how we are going to maintain the list of users to whom we are actually given access. So ABC can give access to multiple users. That's why we have this dynamic array of access type, which is actually storing this access struct. Okay, and we have talked about the fundamentals of mapping with the struct and all those things in the Solidity tutorial. So if you haven't watched that tutorial, please do watch that tutorial. You will be having less difficulty in understanding this type of structure. Okay, so we have simply the mapping from address, which is 0ABC. Then we have this access type of dynamic array. So in this access type of dynamic array, we have this access, right? This access struct. Okay. And in the same way, we will have for other users as well. Then we will create another mapping, and this mapping will be to store the URLs of all the images that we are going to pin on Pinata. So ABC, let's say want to upload his dog image, or his house image, or his or her image, whatever he wants to do, he can do that, and he will simply have this mapping from address to string. In this string dynamic array, we are going to upload all the URLs, all the Pinata URLs, so that we can access our URLs, we can access our images whenever we want. Okay, so that's how we are going to maintain the list of our images. Okay, and then we will have another mapping which will be a nested mapping, and this nested mapping, if you will see, is from address to mapping address to bool. Okay, now with the help of this mapping, we are going to give the ownership of our G drive to any other user, and you will understand why I'm having this ownership mapping, because there is a use of it, because it will make our work very easy, because it will actually help us in understanding the ownership behavior. So in this case, let's say address 1 has given access to address 2 for his or her drive. In that case, it will be true. And address 2, let's say, has not given any access to address 3. In that case, it will be false. Okay, and all the bank traces will already be false, because as we have discussed in the Solidity tutorial, that if you are not going to have anything in your mapping, like if you are not going to initialize your mapping, in that case it will be in the default value of this particular value, right? And in this case, it is a bool data type, so it will be by default false in every place, because these are the fundamentals. I'm not going in depth of these. Okay, I'm just giving you an overview part. And in the same way, we will have the another mapping which will actually help us in storing the previous data. See, when it comes to server, we have this cache and all those facilities, right? But since we are doing it on blockchain, we do not have any access of cache or something like that. So in order to maintain the previous data, in order to understand like whether we have any past history, we are going to use this mapping in order to check for the access of this previous data. And don't worry if you are not getting like how we are going to use ownership and how we are going to use previous data. Once we will start with the coding part, you will understand each and every part, everything. I'm just giving you an high level overview of how we are going to do all these different things. Okay, and then at last, let's talk about the functions that we are going to have in our smart contract. So we are going to have various functions, like we are going to have add function, with the help of which a user can add his or her images. Then we will have a allow function and a disallow function, as you can guess by the name, to allow someone or to disallow someone from the access of our drive. Then we will have a display function, with the help of which we can display all the images that we have, as you have seen in the decentralized application website as well, right? As soon as I clicked on that get data button, I was able to see all the images that I have already uploaded on my Pinata, or I will say on my IPFS network. And then we will have another function at the end by the name of share access, and with the help of share access, we will be able to know to which of the users we have actually given access to our drive. Okay, as you have seen, right, when I was clicking on that share button on the decentralized application, there was this this pop-up, and where I can see the shared access, right, the G drive share access of my account. So with the help of this share access function, we are going to do that. So now it's time to create our smart contract, right? So let's start with our struct part, as we have discussed. So it will be struct access, and inside this we will have the user, then we will have the bool access, and we have discussed about this, right? This is to give access to a particular user. Then we will have all the mappings. So I'm just copying pasting it, because we have talked about it, right? We have seen that this value is to store the URL, this ownership is to give the ownership, this access list is to give again the ownership, and we will talk about it why we have this access list to give ownership, again to give ownership. Okay, and this is previous data, and then we have this. Okay, let me, it's good. So we have this ownership, and then we have this previous data. We will talk about this previous data, why do we require this, okay, once we will create our function. So the first function that we are going to have is the add function, and inside this we will have the address of the user, okay, who wants to add a particular image, and the URL of that particular image. Simple, right? And then we will have it external, and inside this we will have the value, and this value will have the user address, and we are going to simply push the URL. And if you haven't seen my Solidity tutorial, then I know you might be finding it a little bit challenging, but let me give you a little bit overview of what I am trying to do. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm simply using my value mapping. Okay, I'm simply using my value mapping, and this value mapping, in the first go, what I'm trying to do is I'm simply having value and the address of my user. So let's say it is ABC. Okay, so once I'm doing this value ABC, I'm starting pointing towards this array, right? So once I will do this, I will start pointing towards this array. And now once I will start pointing towards this array, I can simply insert value into it. And since this is a dynamic array, as you can clearly see, I can simply use my push operation and insert the URL. And this is what actually I have done in my remix ID as well. Okay, and then we will have one more function by the name of allow to give access to a particular user. Okay, and it will be external. And in the same way, we will have one more function by the name of disallow. We have discussed about both of these functions. Now, in this allow function, first of all, what we are going to do is we are going to use our nested mapping, and we will make this true for a user. Means message.sender is given access to this user address of his or her drive. Okay, and once we will do that, we will simply have our access list, and we are again going to access this by using message.sender.push, and in this we will have the structure, and this structure will have the address of the user, and it will be true, right? Now let me tell you what I have done here. We will go back to the part PowerPoint, and in this, if you will see, what I have done is simply first there's access list. Now let's discuss what we have done. So I have this access list, and this access list will have an address. So let's say I have address of ABC. Now once I will do that, I will start pointing towards this array, and since this array once again a dynamic array, we can actually push. And what we can push? We can push a value of this access type, right? This is an access type array, so I can push access type value, and that's why I'm pushing access. And inside this access, I'm having the address of, let's say, DEF, and I'm making this true. So by this, I'm having DEF here, and this will be true. Okay, and in the same way, I can do for other users as well. And let's say if I want to revoke the access, I can simply copy this down. I will simply paste this, and the only thing I have to do is I will make this false. Now this is good. We do not have any problem with these two functions, but we can have an issue. And the issue can be that, let's say I have given access to DEF in this case. Let me go back to my PPT. So in this case, as you can see, I have given access to DEF, right? Now, once I have given access to DEF, and let's say in the same way I have given access to other users as well. Let's say I have given access to some, EFG and some GHI. I'm just giving a random addresses here. So UVW, something like that. And I have given access to these people as well. So true, and this is also true. Okay. Now, let's say as a user, as a ABC, I thought, okay, I do not want to give access to of my drive to DEF. Let's say I want to revoke the access of my drive, and I want to eliminate this access list from this, access to have the access of my drive. So what I can do is I can simply remove this, and I can simply have false here, right? Instead of true, I can simply have false here. And by this, the access of DEF will be revoked. Definitely, DEF will be the part of this list, but its access will get revoked because we have this false value in the access field of struct. But let's say again in future, because it can happen, let's say again in future, ABC wants to add DEF once more. Now, once he will do that, what will actually happen? Now, once ABC will do that, again, we have to insert one more field. And in this field, again, we will have DEF with the value true. Now you can clearly see we are actually multiplying the data, right? We are actually not multiplying, but we are actually duplicating the data. I already have DEF, but since the logic that we are actually having inside our remix ID, according to this logic, if once we will disallow DEF and again we allow DEF, in that case, again, we will push the address of DEF once more to the array, right? And this is something which we do not want, let's say. Now, in that case, what I can do is I can use my previous data mapping. So according to my previous data mapping, what I will do is I will check the previous data. Okay, or before that, let me do this. So let's say once this user has been added to the list, what I will do is I will go to my previous data mapping, and for the message.sender and for this particular address, I will make this true. Okay, so by this I have added, I have made this particular data true. Now let's say in future again I want to give access to def once more. Okay, so first what I will do is I will first of all check whether my previous data value for the message.sender and the user is already true or not. Okay, is it equal to true or not? If it is equal to true, okay, if it is equal to true, then we will run a loop. We will run a true. Now, this previous data is actually telling to our smart contract that this user already exists in our access list. So I'm going to simply search for this user by going to the access list of this message.sender. Okay, let me zoom out a little bit. Message.sender.length and then I++. And inside this loop, I will simply check whether access list message.sender I dot user is equal to user or not. And if it is equal to this user, then we will simply have the access list. We will make this message.sender again, this access value true. I know it's a little bit complicated, but don't worry, I'm going to explain you this. So just have a little bit of patience. And if the previous data is false, means the previous data does not exist. Okay, in that case, we will simply run this. So in the first time, if you will see at the first time, like when the first time this function will be called for a particular user, in that case, this will be false, right? Because previous data is a mapping and this previous data is actually holding this bool type value. And by default, it all will be the false one, right? Because we are not actually initializing this previous data mapping with any value. So by default, we will have false as in all the parts of our mapping, right? So initially it will be false. So initially it will be false. So first, let's say if def is coming for the first time, let's say def is coming for the first time. In that case, previous data will be false, right? For this user. So we will simply go to this and we will simply go to this. And in this way, def data will be added. And let's say I am revoking the data, revoking def. So in that case, what will happen? We are actually making this false. We are actually making this as false as well. Okay, there is a mistake here. Okay, just sorry for that. For now, just for now, let's think of it as this is the revoking part. And once the access will be revoked, and again, let's say df is being given access, in that case, what will actually happen? Again, we will make this true because we have made this false. And then we will check for the previous data, and previous data, as you can see, will be true for def. So we are simply going to check the access list. And how we are going to check the access list? If you will see access list message.sender I. Now, what I'm trying to do here is I'm simply by doing this access list message means let's say ABC in this case, ABC, and simply we are iterating I, right? And we are actually checking whether the user is equal to the address of DEF, for example. Now, in this case, if you will see what will happen, we are simply first of all pointing towards this array, and then by having this I value change, we are actually going to the different indexes of this array because it will have 1, 2, 3. So this I value will keep on changing from 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4 till 4. Okay, and we are simply going to each of these structures. So first it will be access list abc 0.user. So we are actually checking this particular user, and if it is the user def, in that case what we will do, we will simply go to the access list message.sender, and for this index of array we are going to make this true. Okay, and by this we will again give access to the def field. So this is what I am trying to do here. Okay, so first it was true, then we made it false, and then again we made it true. You can run it by your own also. You will be able to understand this better. I know it is a little bit complicated, but if you will run this using this diagram, you will be able to understand this. Okay, now let me go to the ownership part. Let me remove this. Now again, since we are actually disallowing a particular user, so in order to disallow it, again I have to search for it, right? for this user in the access list. So I access list message dot sender dot length I plus plus. If access list message dot sender I dot user is equal to user, in that case we will make the access list message dot sender then I dot user equal to false. Okay, so okay, I made a mistake, I think. Okay, not user, actually access, false, right? So in this way we have actually completed almost our smart contract. We definitely have some more functions, we will have the display function to display all the images. So display function, and this display function will have the address of the user, right? And again we will make this external view returns, and in this we will have a string. Again we will have memory, and what we are going to do is, first of all, we are going to check for the access part, whether this particular user is equal to the message or sender or not. And second thing, we are going to check whether the ownership, like this is the or part, whether this user has given access to this message or sender or not. Otherwise you will throw an error that you don't have access. Okay, and if either of these values are true, either the user and the message dot sender are equal, or the user, this user to whom, like the address which we are actually passing, has been given access, okay, has been given access, or this user that we are passing has given access to this message dot sender of his or her Google Drive. Okay, and we will simply, if these either of these two values are true, we will simply return the value of the user. So what we are actually simply doing here is, we are simply checking whether this user who is actually calling this display function has some of his or her, images in the list or not, because value user actually having the list of the user, right? The image URL list of the user. So we are simply checking for that. And if this user has given access to this message dot sender, means the person who is actually calling this function, in that case also we are going to display the image URLs. And then we will have the last function by the name of share access, and it will be a public view returns. Then this will actually return us with the access memory, means all the data that we have shared to a particular list. So message dot sender. So it is simply returning us with this access list, means this list, right? This list means to whom we have actually shared the access of our drive. Okay, so this is simply to check for that, and this is simply to check our data that we have in our list. And this is just a disallow function, this is a allow function, and add function. And if you have any confusions regarding any of these functions, it will get cleared during this part. So let me deploy this contract. So now we have this deployed contract, okay, and we have this add function. So let's say this 0b3 wants to add its image on Pinata, let's say. Okay, so I will copy the address, I will have the address here, so 05b3, and I will simply have ABC as a URL for now. Okay, I will click on transact, and this transaction, let me check, this transaction is successful. Okay, now let us try to see the value, right? Let us see whether AB3 is able to see its image or not. So ABC will simply have its address in the display function. So this display function will show all the images that are stored with 05b3, right? So display. So you can see that ABC means this 05b3 has actually stored ABC, right? So now ABC 05b3 is able to see this ABC URL. In the same way, let's say AB3 wants to add some other image, let's say DEF. So transact, let me just check. So you can clearly see now I have access to this ABC and DEF. Okay. Now let's say AB8, who is actually a friend of 5b3, thought why not to see the images that are stored by 5b3. So he will simply go to its account, and it will simply go and try to access the images of 05b3. Now once he will do that, you can clearly see that this transaction got failed. And the reason for this transaction to get failed is that 05b3 has not given the access of its database or its D drive, I will say, to AB8, right? So once AB8 will have the access, then only AB8 will be able to see the images of 05B3. So let's go to 05B3 and let's give access. Okay, let me allow AB8. So 05B3 is now giving access to this AB8. So transact. So now AB8 is in the access list of this 05B3, and we can check that as well. Okay, I don't think so we will be able to check because I think it is not public in nature, but it's okay for now. Let me check it by calling the display function. Now again AB8 will go and will call the display function, and now this transaction is successful and AB8 will be able to see ABC and DEF. Okay, now this way 5B3 can share the access with any of the addresses that from to which this 5B3 wants. Okay, in the same way, let's say I will go to 05B3 and let's say again I want to revoke the access of 0AB8. So I will simply copy the address of 0AB8. I will simply disallow. I will click on disallow. Now 0. Now this AB8 has been revoked from the from the drive of AB8. So now again, if AB8 will try to access the image of 5B3, it will get you don't have access. So it will get again this error that you don't have access. So by this, we can clearly see that our smart contract is properly working. And let me show you one more thing. Let me just make this access list public so that I can show you that important thing as well. So let me delete this. Let me again deploy this. Okay, so let me again have 5B3. Okay, and again I will add my address, not my address actually. So I will add my address, the URL, ABC, transact, successful. Now let's say I'm giving access to AB8. So I will simply copying the address of AB8. I will paste it in the allow list. So once I will do that, if you will go to the access list, okay, if I will go to the access list of 05B3, we'll simply go to the access list of 05B3, and since we have only given access to AB8, so AB8 will be the first element, so AB8 will be at 0th index of the array, right? So I will have 0 here, I will call it, and you can clearly see that AB8 has been given the access of a drive, and the access value is true, right? Okay, now let's say 05B3 thought why not to revoke the access of AB8. So I will copy the 0AB8 address and I will revoke the access by disallow. Okay, I think I made a mistake. There is some mistake, guys, because otherwise disallow function will work. Okay, I think the mistake was copying part. Let me copy it from here. Let me go back. Let me copy the address once more. Not disallow. So again, this is successful. And now if we will call the access list, you will see from the access list, AB8 still exists, but the bull value of AB8 is false. Okay, so by this, we have seen how access list is actually working, right? And not only that, let's say again AB8 was allowed. Again, if we will check the value, it will be true. Okay, so it is true. So this is the beauty of this previous data. Okay, so that we do not have the redundant data, we do not have duplication of data. Okay, now let us just copy paste this smart contract so that we can use it in our Visual Studio Code, and let's create our decentralized application. So now let us set up our environment so that we can start with our decentralized application. In the first step, I'm going to install Hardhat. Okay, so npm install Hardhat. Now once it is installed, let me first of all clear it. We will do npx Hardhat. Okay, yeah, only npx Hardhat. Now once we will do this, you can see that we have so many options, and I will select the first option, that is create a JavaScript project. I will press enter. I will then press enter again, yes, and this is done. So now we have Hardhat, but if you will just go above, you will see, okay, I think I'm not seeing any dependencies right now. That's great. Earlier we have to install some dependencies in order to use Hardhat. Okay, let me be sure, because sometimes it will give error otherwise. Okay, I think they have provided the dependencies in the same package. Okay, let's do this. Let us just copy our smart contract from remix id, and I will just paste it inside our log.sol. I'll remove this as log.sol. It will be renamed to upload, let's say upload.sol. Now in the deploy.js, I will paste this code, and you will be provided with this code in the GitHub repo, which will be provided in the description of this video. Okay, and we can delete the test folder because we are not going to perform any kind of testing. And then in the hard hat configuration, we will have this code. Okay, and definitely again you will get the link, you will get the code in the description of this video. So this configuration is all about that I want to access the chain ID 1337. Okay, so I'm going to access the hard hat node, the hard hat blockchain that I'm going to run, okay, which you will see right now. And then in another thing I'm trying to say here is that when we are going to compile our smart contract, I want the artifacts to be created in the client folder. What is this client folder? So when we will install React, let me install React for you. So here we can do npm install create React app. We can also use YT here because create React app is not much used now because they have actually removed from the documentation, but still we can use it. So I'm going to use it for now. Okay, so now we have the create React app. I will simply do npx create. Okay, let me clear it for now so that you can see. So npx, we will do npx create React app, and I will name the folder as client. So this will have all the dependencies of my React.js in this client folder, and let it be installed. Till then we can talk about the hard hat part. So what I'm trying to say here is that when I'm going to compile my smart contract, okay, my hard hat, like this code upload.sol, the artifacts of this upload.sol will get created inside the client folder, that is this folder, and inside the client folder we will have an src folder, and inside this src folder I'm going to have this artifacts folder. So once let me compile the smart contract, then I will show you this particular thing. Okay, this is just to done so that I can access the artifacts inside my client folder. There is nothing special. You can copy paste the artifacts also, that's up to you, but I am a developer, so why do I will do copy paste, right? I will directly use the script so that I have my artifacts where I want. So yeah, that's the thing. So let me close this down. Okay, so this client folder will be the one where we are going to have our React.js code, and this thing will be the part where we are going to have our smart contract code. So let me remove this. Okay, now the next step, what we are going to do is we are going to open one more terminal. Okay, so you can see that I have the third terminal, and inside this terminal I'm going to run the hard hat node. So I will write npx hard hat node. Now once you will do that, okay, I am seeing this error. Let me clear this down. What is the issue? Okay, there is some problem. Let me clear this down first of all. npx hard hat node. What is the issue? Let me check. Okay, yeah, I think the dependency issue is still there. As I said, right? I do not know why they didn't ask us to install the dependencies at that time, but let me install the dependencies that it is asking for. Let me install this dependency, npm install nomic foundation hard hat toolbox, or I might have missed it when they have asked for the dependency to install actually. Okay, now this is done. Let me clear this. Let me again run npx hard hat node. So you can see that as soon as I have run this npx hard hat node, I have this blockchain running in the command line. Okay, and do not close this terminal. This terminal is very important because we are going to deploy our smart contract on this blockchain only. Okay, so let us deploy our smart contract on this blockchain. And how we can do that? By going to our terminal. So in this we are going to have our React.js code. Okay, and you will understand, do not get confused. And in this we will have our smart contract deployment part. So let me deploy our smart contract, and to deploy our smart contract we will simply run this command npx, okay, npx hard hat run -- network localhost, because we are going to deploy it on the localhost, and then scripts deploy.js. So let me press enter, and this is scripts is the folder, right? A scripts folder. Inside the scripts folder we have this deploy.js, and I have discussed all these things, fundamentals, in the hard hat tutorial. So if you haven't watched that tutorial, I will actually ask you to please do watch that tutorial if you do not know the fundamentals part. Just press enter. So this will deploy your smart contract, and you can see that we have this deployed smart contract address, which we will copy for now. Okay, and every time you are going to deploy your smart contract, you will have a different smart contract address, right? Do not get worried if you are having some different smart contract address at your screen. So it will be totally random, it will be totally different. Let me copy this down for now. Okay, and now let me show you the terminal. So in this blockchain, if you will see, you have your smart contract deployed. So this is the gas use, this is the block number 1, And at, I think this is the transaction hash, so it is not showing much information, I will say. Yes, so it's okay. We do have the contract address which we require for now. Now, one more setup that you will be required is to go to your browser, and in your MetaMask, just check for this localhost. Let me show you. So in your MetaMask, you must have this option of localhost 8545. If you're seeing this option, then that's good. If you're not seeing that this particular option, just go to this. Let me show you what you have to do in that case. Just go to settings, go to the networks tab, and in this, click on this add network button. I already have this localhost, so I'm going to click on this, but you need to click on this add network. Okay, let me click it for now. So once you will click, in your case, when you will click on the add network tab, you will see each and everything empty, right? So in your case, what you have to do is you have to simply copy paste the thing that you are seeing on my screen. So the localhost is 8545. This is the local host. This is the chain ID. And this is the chain ID that we have actually provided in the hard hat configuration file as well, right? And this is the symbol. Just copy the same thing and just click on this save button so that you have each and everything ready in your MetaMask wallet. Now, once you will do that, you will see that you have some empty accounts. Okay. So what you will do, you will again go back to your Visual Studio Code, and inside this, you will simply go to your blockchain that is running in the background. Just copy one of the private key of any of these accounts. Okay, any of these accounts. Let me copy this account private key. I'm copying the private key, right? Not the account address. I will go back. I will simply what I will do is I will simply click on import account, and on import account I will have my private key which I have copied from the terminal. I will click on import. Now once I will import, you can see that I have this 10,000 ether in my MetaMask wallet. Okay, so this is you have to do as a setup, because we are going to use this network only in order to deploy our smart contract, and we are going to access each and everything using this MetaMask only. Okay, so do this particular thing. Now, once you will do this, what we are going to do is we are going to go inside our client folder. Let me close this down because now we do not require it. And inside this, you can see that we have this app.js. Just remove all this for now because we are not going to require it. And just remove this thing as well. Now inside this, first of all, we are going to create our template with the help of which we can easily create the instance of our smart contract. And I have discussed all of these things in the Chai dApp tutorial, right? But still, I'm going to explain you each and everything here also as well. But do watch that tutorial also. It will actually help you to have a strong basics. So now, first of all, I'm going to import use effect as well as use state, okay, from React. And also I'm going to import Ethers library because we are going to use Ethers.js library from Ethers. Now here we will create some use state for account that by the name of set account, okay, to set the account that we have seen in our dApp, right? So this will be set account. Then we will one more use state for setting the instance of our contract that we are going to create, use state. And initially we can have null here. In the same way we will have for a provider and for MetaMask. So just let me copy paste, and instead of this I will have provider, okay, and then we will have here set provider, and here we will have for the modal that we are going to create, and you will see that when I will create it. Let me have this for now, set modal open, okay, and this will be initially false. Okay, now inside this we will first of all create one use effect, and let me have empty dependency list, and inside this we will create a function, so by the name of, let's say like this, once wallet. So this will actually provide us the access of our wallet, and in this we will mention the provider. And for the provider part, we are going to use MetaMask, and for that we are going to create an object new ethers.providers.web3 provider, and I have discussed the fundamentals in the ether.js library. And inside this we will have window.ethereum. So this window.ethereum is actually, this is an object that is injected by MetaMask, okay? So we are actually using this so that we can connect to the MetaMask, and once we will do this, and we can have this outside the function. You will understand why, where it should be ethers. Okay. Now, what I will do is I will check whether we have the provider or not. So if we will have the provider, then we are going to do each and everything to access the MetaMask and to create the instance. If we do not have the provider, then what we can do is we can throw an error or by saying that alert that MetaMask is not installed. Okay, something like this. And if there is a MetaMask, if we do have MetaMask, then what we are going to do is we are going to use the provider await provider dot send eth request accounts. Now this is to open the MetaMask automatically. Okay, let me make this function an async function because we are going to use this await. Okay, so if we have the provider, then we can go for opening the MetaMask. If we do not have means if we do have the provider, means once we will have that, what we will do is we will create a signer. We are going to use the signer because we are going to do a lot of transactions on blockchain, and those transactions are going to change the state of the blockchain. So we will require the signer object, and then we will simply get the address of the connected account by doing simply signer dot get address. Now this will actually provide us with the address of the connected account, and I will show you that. So let me console.log so that you can see that as well. Okay, and we can also set this as an account. Okay, because this will be the address that we are going to use for all the purposes. Then we are going to have the contract address. So contract address. So as I told you in the previous tutorials as well, that in order to create the instance of a smart contract, you require three things. First one, the contract address. Second thing, the ABI. And the third thing, signer object or the provider object. So we do have the contract address, right? So let me copy paste it from the upload.sol. Where it is upload.sol, I have copy pasted the address here, right? So this is the address. So let me paste the address here inside the double quotes. Okay. Now, once we have the address of our smart contract, we can simply create the instance. And to create the instance, and instead of let, we can also have const here. And to create the instance, we will simply write contract, then new, then ethers dot contract. Okay, and inside this we are going to pass the contract address, we are going to pass the ABI. So we need to import the ABI to do that, and to import the ABI we need the artifacts, right? So as I told you while I was while I was demonstrating the hard hat configuration, that artifacts will be created inside your client folder. So if you will see in your client folder, you have this artifacts folder, and inside this artifacts folder you have this upload.json, right? So I'm simply going to import this upload.json because this consists of the ABI of our smart contract. So I will simply import it. So import upload from in the current directory artifacts. Inside artifacts, we are going for the contracts, and inside that we are going for upload.sol, and inside that we have the upload.json. Now I will simply access the ABI by doing upload.abi. So it will actually give me the access to the ABI, and then we will have the signer, right? Not singer, it should be signer. Okay, now we are done with the instance of our smart contract. Now, once we have the instance, what we can do is, I think there is some issue. Okay, this is the issue. Now, once we have the instance, what we can do is we can console.log this as well so that we can see whether the instance is created or not. And then we can set the contract instance, and also we can set the provider, right? We have already set it the account. Now we can set the provider by the signer. So we can use it in our other components. So let me check what is the issue. Set account. Okay, account, it should be account, right? Okay, now it is good. So let us check this whether it is working or not. So let me just improve it a bit. Now, since I haven't called this function, I need to call this function, right? So in order to call this function, I will first check whether I have the provider or not. And if I have the provider, I will simply call this wallet function. Okay, I will simply call this wallet function. Now let us check this whether this is running or not. So let me just have this. Okay, let me go to the terminal. So here I'm going to create my, so for now I can delete this terminal because we are not going to require it for now. Definitely if we will require it, we will again use it, but for now I will simply go to my client folder first of all, and I will simply do npm start. Now this will actually start my React.js application, and then we can check whether the instance and the account are ready or not. So this is our React.js. Let me check. So let me connect it with the MetaMask. Let me go to the console. And if you will see, we do have the connected account, which is of MetaMask 0. Okay, no, this is not the account, right? Let me refresh it. Okay, now you can see that. So because of the refresh problem, it was connected with the previous account. So now you can see that it is 0 cross BCD, 0 cross BCD. So as I said that this particular thing, right? This particular thing is actually given as the current account address through which we are connected via MetaMask account. And then you can see that we do have the contract instance, and inside this instance, we can see the contract address. We can also see the functions that we have created in our smart contract. So by this, we can assume that everything is working in our smart contract. Okay, we do have some warnings, but it will get removed after some time. But for now, this is a good news that we do have the smart contract instance ready. Now, the next step will be to create some components. Okay, so I will go to the src folder. I will create a new folder by the name of components. Okay, and inside this, I will create some files. And those files will be display.js so that we can see the images, and then we will have file upload.js with the help of which we are going to upload the file. And then we will have one more extra component just for the css part, that is modal.js for the css. And for the css, I will also have the display.css, and I will provide you the css in the description of this video. Okay, so file upload.css and then modal.css. Okay, so now we have each and everything ready. We can simply go to app.js once more, and we can import all these components. So because we are going to require it for now, file upload for now, file upload from. So in the current directory, in the components folder, we have this file upload. Okay, and in the same way, I will simply copy paste it, and here I will have display, and here I will have the modal. And let me change the following: display and modal. Okay, so now we have all the components as well, and now it's time to import these components. Now it's time to use these components. Actually, I have added some class, like I have added the css part for you so that you can simply copy paste it down. I am not going in the css part, so I've just copy pasted the css. I have just used the css. I have just copy pasted the css, each and everything in the css files, so that you can directly copy paste it and you can rightly use it. Okay, so we are going to focus on the blockchain part, and we are not going for the css part. And now what we will do is, if you will see, I have these components by the name of file component. Okay, file upload component actually. And inside this file upload component, we are going to write the code to choose the image and to upload the file on the IPFS network. Okay, and then we will have this display.js. I will explain you the code in each and everything. For now, this is just the css part, so we haven't have any code here. Okay, and in the same way, I have added the css layout and the normal structure of the website, and we are going to write the display logic here so that we can display the images on the screen. And in the modal.js, we are going to have that modal, that when we click on the share with button, we have that modal, and then we can share the access with anyone, the people with whom we want to share the access. Okay, so this is a simple thing that I have done. You can simply copy paste it from the GitHub repo. Now, the next step will be to work on each and every component. So we will start with the file upload component, and then we will go to the display component, and then we will go to the share with component, means this modal component. Okay, now in the file upload component, we are going to require the account. So let me have the account. Okay, in the same way, we will require the contract. So I will pass it as a prop, and then at the end, we will require the provider. So I will pass the provider as well. Okay, and if you will go to the file upload.js, here we will have the contract, provider, and the account. Actually, we will not require this provider, so we can remove this because we already have used the provider to create the contract instance, so we can remove it. We do not actually require this. So let's remove this. And in the same way, we are going to require the account and contract for the display component, which we will create afterwards. But for now, let me pass it down. Now in the file upload.js, we have to do two things. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do, or the second thing I will say that we need to do, okay, what I'm trying to say is that we do need to do two things. First thing is to handle the image, or I will say to upload the image on IPFS. So this is the thing that we are going to do. And second thing is to retrieve the file, right? So once the file will be uploaded, we need to retrieve the file. So this will be the second thing that we have to do. Now, in order to retrieve the file, what we require is a retrieve file function. So I will create one function by the name of retrieve file, and I will show you how it will work. And in this, we will have event. Okay. And now what we are going to do is, let me show you the browser. So once we have the CSS, it looks good, right? So what we are trying to do here is we are going to call this retrieve file function once we choose an image. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to add a functionality where once I will click on this choose image button, this retrieve file function should run. Now for that, what I have to do is I have to simply go to this input tag, if you will see, and in this input tag, if you will see, it is a type of file. Okay, so it is something which will actually receive file, and inside this we will have one event by the name of onChange, and this onChange event will actually call this retrieve file function. So once we will choose an image, this retrieve file function will run. Let me show you that. So console.log, let's say hi, and let me go back, let me open it, and don't worry about this thing, we are going to remove each and everything. Okay, so we have some errors. Okay, what are these different errors? Let me refresh it. Okay, now, so let me click on this choose image, and as soon as I'm going to choose an image, let's say I have chosen this image, open, and you can see that as soon as I have chosen an image, this is we get this hype, right? Let me choose some other image. Let's say I am choosing this image, open, again we have this high, right? So this is how we have actually created this retrieve file function. So once we will choose an image, okay, once we will choose an image, when we will call this, when we will click on this choose image button, then this retrieve file function will work. Now let us write the code inside our retrieve file. So the first step will be to have the file, and to retrieve the file I'm going to use this event, okay, event object, and then target means once the user will, just go and click on that choose image button, then this on change event will occur, and then we are going to make the target to this file. Now, this files is actually an array of files. So, if you want to give a functionality of selecting multiple files at once, if you want to give the functionality to have multiple files getting uploaded at once, then you can have, then you need to use this array, and then you need to iterate this array. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to simply select the first array, means now the first array means I'm going to simply select the first element from this files array, and this first element from this files array will be the single file that I have chosen. Okay, so once I will click on this choose image, I will be selecting one file, and that file will be present inside this files 0. Okay, now I need to create a reader object which will actually help me in reading this file reader. Okay, if you do not know anything about this, just don't worry. This is something that, no, this is something which you use in order to read and in order to perform operations on files. And then I will use this object to read as array buffer, and inside this I will have my data, inside this I will have my file, and then I will start reading it. So reader dot on load end. So this is a function which is actually making sure that we are reading the file till its end. Okay, and while reading I will set the file. So if you will go back and let me have one a hook, that is use react hook, not react, actually use state hook from react. Okay, again, pardon, this should be import, right? Now I will simply create a file hook, so a file set file, and initially it will be okay. So while reading it, I'm going to set the file. So in this, go simply set file, okay, set file, and I will simply have my event.target files 0 inside it. Okay, And once the file is like once the we have read the file till the end of the file, then we are going to set the file name as well. And how can we get the file name? In order to get the file name, again I'm going to create one more hook by the name of file name. Okay, make this file name and will set the file name. And how we will get the file name? We will simply again use this. Okay, then we will simply do dot name. So this will actually give access to the file name. And yes, one more thing, we will have an event prevent default so that it does not get automatically reloaded during the retrieve file process. Okay, and let us check this. Let us check this. So let me do console.log the file name. Okay, I'll simply copy this. I will paste it. Let's see whether this functionality is actually working or not. Let me open my console. Let me choose any random image. This image, open. Okay, there is some issue. Okay, I made a mistake. It should not be read add array, but it should be read as array buffer. Now let me again select one random pick. You can see that as soon as I have selected this random pick and the name of that pick was your paragraph text 64.png, so we have that pick name, right? Let me select like this. So you can see that again we have a different file name. So this functionality, this retrieve file functionality is totally working. Okay, let me comment this out. Now once we will have the file, once we will retrieve the file, let us create one more function as we discussed, right? That we are going to create two functions by the name of handle submit. So this function will be responsible to upload our images to Pinata, or I will say to IPFS network. Now this will be an async function. Again, we will have the event. Now this event will make sure that it does not get reloaded. Okay, default, and we will call this handle submit once we will click on this upload file. And if you will see this upload file is a form, I will simply do on submit and I will call this function once we will click on this. Okay, once we will click on this upload file button. Okay, so this will start working, and then we can have the functionality of our handle submit. Now in the starting, what I will do is I will check whether we have the file or not, means whether do we have this file available or not, and which will be available only when we will set the file, right? So once we will retrieve the file and once we will set the file, then only the file will be available, otherwise there will be no file, right? And then we will have a try catch block so that we can catch any error during the during talking to Pinata, during talking to the Pinata API. So I will simply have error. So if there will be any error, we will simply catch that error and we will have error statement. Okay, now once this will be done, we will simply use this form data variable in order to have form data, and then we will simply append file. Now the reason for doing this thing, so we have created a form data. Okay, we have created this form data object, and then we have appended our file to this form data object. Now the reason for doing this is because when we are going to send our file, we are going to send it in the form of form data. Okay, so that's the reason. So we will be sending, when we will be making an HTTP request, then we are going to send this object and we are not going to directly send the file. So that's why I have created this file form data object. And for talking to Pinata, we are going to use Axios, which will actually help us in connecting with the Pinata server, I will say. Okay, so we are going to require this. So this is like a bridge between your client side application and your server side application. So your client, which is your React.js code, wants to talk to this Pinata, which is actually on a server, right? So we want to make an interaction. We want to talk to it. So for that, we require this Axios library. So let me install this Axios library. Okay, by simply doing npm install Axios. Okay, not here, but in the client folder. So npm install and then Axios. Okay, now we have this. close it. Now after you have installed your Axios, what you need to do is you need to simply copy paste this particular script. Now this script is actually making sure so that this script is actually making sure that you can talk to Pinata. Okay. So we have this method post. If you are a modern developer, then you must be knowing this. So we have this method post, and we have this URL, and definitely you do not need to copy my API key and my secret API key. So I will tell you how you can get this thing so that you can create your own, you can use your own API key in order to talk to Pinata. Now, in order to access your API of Pinata, simply go to Pinata, simply sign up to it if you haven't. Okay, I am going to log into it because I have already signed up. Okay, so you can see that. Now, once you will signed up, you will see that there will be an option for developers where you will be finding your API keys. You have to simply click new key, and once you will click on this new key, you will see a lot of options. So just give a name to your API key. I'm just giving it a random key. Okay, in your case you can name it anything, whatever you want, and then simply just toggle it, and then just simply click on create key. Once you will click that, you will see your API key, your API secret key. Just copy this down in API key in your API key part, and then secret key in your API secret key part. Okay, so like this. Okay, once you will do this, you will have your this particular script ready, which will be talking to the Pinata gateway. Now, what we will be doing is we are going to create one more variable, and this variable will be by the name of image hash. And in this we will be simply having this line, and this line might be changed in future because I have seen that most of the time these gateway services, they are changing their gateway. So just if after this tutorial somehow if you are not able to work with this gateway API, then I will suggest you to do look to their documentation because they change this so frequently that you might miss it. Okay, so just do this. So what this image hash variable is actually doing is we are simply accessing the Pinata gateway, and then whatever response we have in this response file, we are simply going to the data field. Okay, so to the data field, and from that data field we are actually accessing this IPFS hash. Now what is this IPFS hash? This is the hash, or I will say this is the CID of your image that you have uploaded on the IPFS network. So with IPFS network, whenever you upload some image on IPFS network, then IPFS actually provides you this hash of your image. Okay, whatever, you can either say it as a hash or you can also say it as CID. So let me console.log this thing so that I can show you this as well. Okay, let me save this. Let me run this so that you can check. So I will simply choose one image, and do choose a very low byte image, otherwise it will actually create a lot of trouble because it will take a lot of time. So I will simply click on upload file. If everything will be correct, you will be seeing the response here. So if you will see at line number 30, let me go back. So at line number 30, we have this image hash, and inside this image hash, after this IPFS, we have this res file.data.ipfs hash. So if you will go back, you can see that we have this hash of the image. Okay, this is the hash of the image, and if I will click on this link, you will see that your image will appear on the browser. It will take some time because it is making an interaction with the server, and trust me, some of the time this IPFS network is too slow. So you have to wait for a while to get your image, and sometimes you may get some error, some gateway error or some bad request. In that case, I will suggest you to try it after some time because sometimes the IPFS network is very slow, so it will take some time to get active. So you can clearly see that it is taking so much time, even though I have uploaded this image on IPFS. But we can check this as well. Let me copy this down because sometimes actually it takes some very like a lot of time. So let me go to Pinata and simply go to the files section. So if I will go to the files section, you can see that recently only at 4/3/2023 according to Indian Standard Time. So at this point of time, this is the time this is the date, okay, at India. So if I will simply click on this, okay, again it is taking, we need to wait for a while. but our image is actually uploaded. Okay, so this is the content identifier of the image. Okay, so this is like your, this is like a unique name given to your image, and with this unique name you can identify your image, okay, wherever it is. So that's the only, I will say, utility of this CID. Definitely there are other things as well, but for now you can think of it as a unique name given to your image. Okay, so it is taking a lot of time, I must say. As I said, right, it is sometimes slow. So we will get back to it. Let's wait for it till it get uploaded. Okay. So till then, we can work on the application part, and don't worry, it has uploaded on IPS and drug. Okay. Once this is successful, you will see this image hash. And what we can do is, once the image is successfully uploaded, we can print a message like successfully image uploaded. Okay, something like this. Now one more thing, the file upload part on Pinata server is done, right? But now it is the responsibility to have this image identifier and upload it on our smart contract, right? Means what I'm trying to say here is, this user has actually uploaded the image on IPFS, right? So this is our image which is uploaded on IPFS. Okay. Now, once this is uploaded on IPFS, we have this hash of the image, right? We have the hash of this image, right? What is hash? Hash is simply, hexadecimal code of your image, or you can say like whenever you have 0 cross 2 f e g, something like this, you can think of it as a hash. Okay, so you can generate this hash using SHA-256 algorithm or KCAC-256 algorithm, but we do not need to go in details of that. So once we will upload our image on IPFS, we will have this hash of the image, and this hash, as I said, right, this is a unique identifier to your image. So this hash will be unique for each and every image, means for each and every different kind of image. So now what we can do is, we can simply use this hash. We will use this hash of the image, and once the upload is done, we will call our add function. And in our add function of our smart contract, we will simply pass the user address. Let's say it is 0 cross abc. So we will have 0 cross abc, and we will pass this down to add function of our contract. So we have discussed about the add function, right, that we have created this add function, where we have to provide the user address and the URL, right? The URL, or whatever you can say, like hash or whatever you want to say, so that we can store that, okay, this user has actually uploaded this image. Okay, so this will be this, our smart contract will be like a database, acting as a database of all the images that are uploaded by the user. So if you will go back, now it's time to use this contract instance. Okay, because this contract instance consists of all the functions that we have in our contract, right? So what we will do is, after the image is successfully uploaded, before that, what we can do is, we can simply use the contract instance. We will call the add function. Okay, okay, and inside this we will pass the account address. Okay, the account address, as well as the image hash. Okay, the URL, this URL. Okay, so this will actually call the add function in our smart contract, this upload.sol, this add function, and it will push the URL to this particular user mapping, right? This mapping. And we can do some more things here, that after the image is uploaded, we can simply set the file name to, again, as no image uploaded, because no image selected actually, because once we have done our work with a single image, then we can again go back to the initial position, and we can again set the file to null. Okay, and we will save this. So now each and everything is ready. The only thing is, now we need to check whether our contract is properly working or not. But before that, we need to make sure that we have our account, right, transferred to the contract. So let me make some changes here. So first of all, let me show you whether we have the account or not. So let me have the account here. So again, in JSX, I am having the account. We have set the account here, right? Wait, we have actually set the account here, right? And we are simply using this use state in order to set it. So let me first of all show you that. Okay, it is a gateway timeout. As I said, right, it will take some time to get uploaded or it may give you this error. So don't get worried. Okay, just wait for some time. It will be back. So if you will see, once we have the account, we can see the account here as well, right? So if I will go and choose some different address, I need to refresh. Okay, so you can see that now we have the different account that is connected to the MetaMask. But I think this functionality of again and again, going to the MetaMask, changing it, and then refreshing the browser, it is a very complicated process, right? So let's have some functionality which will actually help us in, uh, having a different account once we will change the account from the MetaMask. Okay. Now to have that change in account functionality, we are going to have this script, and this script is actually provided by MetaMask wallet, and this script actually makes sure that whenever we are actually changing the account of our MetaMask wallet, our account on our browser also gets changed, because we are using this window.location.reload, which is actually reloading the script whenever we are actually changing the MetaMask account. So let me show you that. So now if I will open my MetaMask, okay, it is not connected to my cache yet, 1947. So now it is connected to my localhost 8545. Let me select one account. Okay, so now if you will see, let me refresh it for now. So let me go back. So now if I will change the account, let's say I am connecting with this account, you will see that now we have the changed account, means the account that we have on our MetaMask wallet. So by this, we do not need to reload our page manually. It will do the reload process by itself. Okay. And in the same way, we can have one more functionality. And that functionality is to reload the page once we will change the, once we will change that network, once we will change the test network from, let's say, main network to a test network, to a test network to a Ganache network. So this is just to, just to have that. Otherwise, if you do not need it, then you can definitely remove it. It's not, necessary in this particular case, but still, just to have a, to have a good UI. So we will add this particular script as well. So now once we have done this, now our UI is ready. Now what we will need to do is we need to check the upload file process, right? So let me open my console. And now since we have added this new thing, that is this thing, right? That we are talking to our smart contract. So we need to check whether it is working or not. So let us do that. Let us check this. So let me choose any image. So let me select this image, open, then upload. Once the upload will be successful, we will have an alert message that upload is successful. Okay, successfully image uploaded. Now this MetaMask popping up is actually a proof that our contract.add method is working, because when we are calling the add function of our smart contract, we are actually making some change on the blockchain. And when we are making change on the blockchain, we need to pay some amount of money, right, for the transaction. And that's why MetaMask is popping up. So let me insert my password. So you can see that it is asking for the confirmation for this transaction. Let me confirm this. Okay, there is some issue. Okay, I think sometimes guys, you might face this particular issue, and this is something due to the MetaMask. I do not know why it actually does that. So you can, you can work on it by going to some different account. Okay, just choose some different account or import some different account from the hard hat, then it will work. So let me try it once more. Okay, let's say I'm selecting this image, open, now upload file. Now we need to wait for some time. Okay, it is successful. Again, we need to type the password, confirm. So this time you will see that we are not facing any issue, right? So sometimes you might face that issue that I have faced just now. Just change the account, try with a different account, and it will work. Okay, so let me check whether the transaction is confirmed or not. We can add this functionality as well, right? Whether the transaction is confirmed. And if you will see on your screen, the transaction is actually confirmed. So the image URL must have been passed on to the smart contract. But to verify that, what we need to do is we need to actually go to this display.js, right? And before that, let me make some slight changes in my file upload.js so that I can it looks good. So instead of nothing, we can have a file name, because we have set the file name, right? So file name. So while I did this, so I was setting the file name, so now we can display that. And what we can make sure is that we can disable this button until or unless we have the file ready with us. So I will have a not file. So if there is no file, then do not give the accessibility of this upload file button. And in the same way, we can disable this particular field, the choose like choosing an image field, when we do not have any selected account. So only when we have a selected account, then we will give this functionality of choosing the image. Okay, otherwise if you do not have a MetaMask or something like that, in that case we are not going to provide you any functionality of choosing an image. Okay, I think now this is good. Now we can go to the display.js. Now in display.js, let me create one function by the name of get data. It will be an async function. Okay, now inside this we are going to have the logic to get the images that we have stored. And for that, let me create one variable by the name of let data array. And in this data array, I'm going to simply use my contract instance. So let me have the contract instance here. So I have passed the contract I have passed this contract instance as a prop, right, to the display component as well as I should have the account. So if you will go to the app.js, I have passed these two things, right? So I'm just accessing these two props, and now I will simply use this contract. And how can we get the access to our images? By going to this display function, right? Because this display function is something which is actually returning this mapping value. So I can simply call that display. Okay, and in this display I can have my account. Okay, and for now let me console.log this so that we can see whether we have any image or not. And in this I will simply add one uh, on click event to call this get data function. So get data, so this will call my get data function and I will be have access to my images. Okay, so let me save this, let me go back, let me click on get data. Okay, so we do have some error. Okay, so the error is that error called reception. I think there is some issue with the account part. Okay, like let me see whether we do have the account or not. Okay, so console.log account. Okay, so for now let me just comment it out. Let me go back, let me click on get data. So we do have the account address. Okay, so this display is taking the user address. So what's the issue here? Oh wait, contract or display. Let me check once more. Oh, what is the issue? Get data. Okay, I got the mistake that I was actually doing. So this was actually not running because I was deploying, actually whenever I close my VS Code, right, I need to redeploy my smart contract. So remember this thing as well, so that you also did not get into the same issue, that whenever you are actually closing your VS Code, whenever your the blockchain is actually getting closed, you need to redeploy your smart contract. And for the redeployment, I was actually running this particular command, and this command was actually deploying my smart contract, but actually it was deploying my smart contract on a different, I will say, on a different version, or I will say on a different instance of hard hat. This is what I got from the issue that I was getting from GitHub. Okay, so you can actually go to this particular strange error part, so you can also get the answer to this. So here if you will see that as the warning, you are making eth call in account with no code. This usually happens when you use two different instances of the hard hat network. So I think that was the issue. So I should not run this particular command, but I should run the whole command, and that is that network and then localhost. Okay, so now this will actually deploy my smart contract to the correct hard hat network that I want to run on. And I hope now this will not be an issue. Let me again start my cd client, start my react.js code. Let's see, let's hope for the best. Okay, so control plus shift plus j. Let me check for the get data. Now you can see that it is running, right? It is now running. So earlier it was definitely, it will be empty because I have redeployed my smart contract. I need to again choose one image. Let's say I want to select this image, so I will simply open it, I will upload this. Okay, is it successful? Now I need to give my MetaMask password. Okay, again I have the same error. So if you are getting the same error as me, just change the account address. Okay, use some different account address. Okay, let's now run this. So I'm uploading this image in geo, and now upload file. Okay, I hope this will work this time. Okay, again I'm getting the same. So sorry guys, actually this is something which is not in my control. uh let me again try for this account, or let me I think I have already tried for this account, so let me try for this account, or actually this account. I'm not sure which of these account will actually work. So let me just paste it. So let me upload this image, upload file. Okay. Then the password. Okay, not the password. Okay. So I think I do have various issues in my hard hat. So what I will do is I will simply go to hard hat and I will use some different instance, some different private key or account, I will say. Okay. Okay, so I cannot go back as well. This is actually very frustrating, I will say. But what we can do in this case, I think I need to again restart this. But it's good. I think this is good so that you can also see what are the issues that we face sometimes in running these things, right? So let me again redeploy the contract. It is very necessary to redeploy the contract, okay? And sometimes you may have a different account address, but most of the time you will get the same account address. So do make sure that you are using the same account address which is actually given here, okay? So let me import some different accounts so that I can run that as well. So let me have this account. I will simply copy the private key again, go to my browser, MetaMask, import account, import, okay, connect it. Okay, now let me again select some image. So I'm selecting this image, open, upload, okay. I hope this will work. Yeah, now this is working. So this is something which we cannot actually control. This is all because of the hard hat, or I will say MetaMask. I do not know which one is actually creating problem, but I think it is hard hat only which is actually creating the problem. Okay, I think the image is uploaded. Yes, it is done. Let me click on get data. So if you will see, as soon as I clicked on the get data, I'm actually having the URL of my image, right? So this is the URL of my image, and now my work is to use this URL and to show this URL image on my screen. Let me check this. Let me check this. So before, if you remember, when we run this UI, right? When we actually run this URL, in that earlier it was not running, right? But now you can clearly see that now it is running. So as I said, there will be some times that you will be facing this 504 gateway error from Pinata, but you do not have to worry about it, because sometimes, as I said, the Pinata server, or I will say the IPFS network is slow, so you might not see the image. Okay, you have to wait for some time. But in my case, now you can see that I'm, as soon as I clicked, as soon as I pasted the URL and I went to the URL, I am seeing my image, right? So this is good. Let me go back to the display part. Now let me make some changes to it. So the first thing that we should do is we should have our, this data array code inside a try catch block. And the reason is very simple, because this data array, this display function is having a require statement, right? Which actually throws an error whenever there is some issue, right? Means whenever someone who has not the access of the account is calling the function. So in that case, we can alert for that error and we can display that error, right? So I will simply have the alert statement here. And now what we will do is, first of all, we will check whether is empty. So we will check whether the data array is empty or not. So object dot keys is equal to data array dot length is 0. So if it is 0, then we do not have any element inside the data array. So in that case, we will not run through it. And if it is not empty, right? If it is not empty, if it is not empty, and if it is not empty, then we can have variable images. And then what we will do is we will simply use the data array dot map so that we can map all the images. Okay, so we will have item, then I, comma I, then we will have a function. Now inside this, what we will do, we will simply return. So I hope you know how mapping works in JavaScript. So we are simply going to use the a means anchor tag, and inside this anchor tag we are going to have the item. Now what is this item? So from this data array we are going to fetch all the image URL, right, one by one. So first, let me show you. So as you can see, okay, let me click on get data. Okay, I think I made a mistake. Yeah, So let me first of all remove this, save it, remove this, so that I can show you what I meant to say. So let me do get data. Okay, I think I removed console.log. So let me console.log data array, and now let me do get data. So you can see that we have two links here, right? The first one and the second one. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm simply taking each of these links inside this item. So I'm going to take first link, which will be in the item, and then I'm going to use this in the href so that I can display it. And in the key part, because we are using React.js, and for every element we need to have, the key. So we will have this a minus dollar and I, so that we can have a unique key. Okay, and then we will have as target as blank, target blank, and rel non-referred. Okay, now after this I will simply use the image. Okay, let me remove this anchor tag from here and to here. Okay, now inside this image I will have key again. So let me then source, and source will be the item again, and then alt, let's say it's new, and let's say class name as image list. So I provided the css part as I said earlier also. Okay, it should not be there. And now let me close this. So simply what I'm trying to do here is I'm actually accessing the image using this image tag, and then I'm having this hyperlink on the image, so that when I click on the image I can see the image on my IPFS network. Okay, so when I will click on it, it will go to the IPFS network and I can see the bigger image. Okay, as we have seen earlier as well. Now what I will do is I will simply set this by having a use state. So let me import use state from React, and then we will create one use state const by the name of image, or let's say data, set data, and let me have initially null here. Okay, and now I will simply set this images variable. Okay, so I will simply set data and images. Now I can display these images where I can display these images here. So I will simply use the data, okay, that I have set. Okay, and I will display it on the browser. Let me check now. Let me click on get data. So you can see that as soon as I have clicked on this get data, I can see both of my images that I have uploaded using this particular account on my screen. And I will click on it. So due to the a link, means due to the href part, I can easily access these images on the Pinata gateway. Okay, so this is how you can use this. They use this particular thing. Okay, so by accessing by using this mapping. And if by chance, so like we have done for the part where the data array is not empty, right? But now if it is empty, in that case what we can do is we can simply show an alert that no images to display. Okay, if data array is empty. So if it is empty, then we are going to show that okay, data array is empty, so we do not have any images to display. But still our work is not done, because if you will see, if you will go back to the browser, we have this input field, right? And inside this input field I can put the addresses, any address, okay, any address inside this input field, and I can get the data of that particular address, right? As we have seen in the demo part as well, that let's say if there is a ABC has given access to DEF. Now DEF can access ABC data by inputting the address of ABC here, right? So we need to have this particular field as well. And for that, let me create one more variable by the name of other address, and this other address we will be simply using query selector, and we will be selecting the address dot value. So okay, dot value. So if you will see the input tag, in this input tag we have this address field, right? So I'm simply accessing the value of this, and then what we can do is we can check whether other address is empty or not. So if it is empty, in that case we will go to this part directly, means then we can show the image of this account, or what we can do is, no, let us do not do that, otherwise it will be confusing for the user. So if other address is, so first of all let me do this. If other address is not empty, right, in that case I will simply use this data array, and inside this I will pass the other address. Okay, and if it is not present, then what we can do is, see, let me go to the display part. So in the display part, if you will see, if other address will not be there, then definitely we will have this error, right? You don't have access. So what we can do is, we can simply have this here, right? We can have this here. So what I'm thinking is that, let's say if someone is having some address, let's say if ABC, inputted this def address in the get data field, in that case definitely we will run this logic, and if this logic will have some issue, then we will alert the error, right? Because if this will have some issue, then we can alert this error, like throw this error, like this particular require statement will throw an error that you don't have access, and we can simply cache that error and we can show it here. But if otherwise, let's say if this other address is empty, means it does not consist of any value, in that case we are going to access this particular field. And if it is true, means if it is true in the sense, if it is the owner who is actually calling this display function, in that case we will definitely show the data, otherwise we will throw an error that you don't have access. So this logic is also true, we can work on it. Otherwise, if you think, okay, I want this logic to be in a separate if else statement, then you can have that, but I think this will work in our case, so I can have in the same if else block. Okay, so by this logic, any other user can access the any other person address as well. Okay, and with this, I think we have completed the display component, and we also have completed the file upload component. Now it's time to go to the third component, that is modal.js. Now for the modal part, what we can do is we can create a modal here. Okay, so we will simply have this fragment and we will paste it here. And now inside this, what I will do is I will simply use curly braces is modal, or not is modal, actually modal not open. So if you will see, I have this modal open use state, right? So I am checking whether it is not open. If it is not open, in that case, means if my modal is not open, in that case what I will do is I will simply display a button. Okay, so I will simply display a button, and this button will be a share button. Now in this I will simply have a class name by the name of share. Okay, and this will also have a on click, which will actually help us in set modal open true. Okay, so this will actually make sure that my modal is actually like this one, which is actually eventually false, but when I will click on share button, it will become true. Okay, and if it is true, means if my modal is true, right, then what I will do, I will simply display my modal. So if modal is open, then I will simply display the modal component. So modal, okay, set modal open. Inside this I will have my set modal. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm simply transferring my set modal use state to this set modal. Okay, so I'm actually transferring this use state to my modal component, which I will be using in order to close it. I will show you that. And not only that, I'm also going to have this as a prop, contract as a prop, so that I can use it there. So let me save it. Let me go to my browser. So if you will see now, in the starting, the modal is false, right? In the starting, if you will see, the modal is false. And since the modal is false, so if modal is false, right, if it is not of false is true. So if it is true, then we are going to display the share button. So that's why you can see that I am seeing this share button. Now once I will click on the share button, set modal will become true, and this will actually display the modal on my screen. And this is the modal component. So I have actually provided you the code of modal in the CSS, like in the modal component, the CSS part of the modal in this. Okay, so you can access it from here. And now comes the logical part in the modal. So now let us see what we have to do in order to run this modal component, because for now this modal is not running, right? So we have the address field and everything. So the static modal is ready, but we do not see any addresses here, right, with whom we can share the access of our G drive. and let me click on cancel. So you can see that it is also not working. The cancel button is also not working. So we need to have some functionality in the share cancel button. We need to have this, people with access field, so that we can share the access with other people. So we need to work on these three functionalities actually. So let me go to the modal. Now in this modal component, let me create the functionality for the share button. So sharing, okay, sharing, let me make this async, and inside this we will simply have the address field, okay, and we will fetch the address field from query selector from the input tag, okay. So address dot value, from this, if you will see, we have this input tag, right, where we are actually asking for the user to input the address, right, to whom we want to share the data, to whom we want to share the G drive access. So we will fetch that, and then we are going to call the contract instance allow function, okay, not this but contract instance. And then, okay, so first of all we will have these two things, right, the set modal open and the contract instance. Now we can make this contract. Now I can access the allow function. If you remember, we do have this allow function, right, in the upload.sol, which was actually allowing someone to have the access of our G drive. So I'm simply going to have the address field here, and by this we are actually providing the access. And once we will provide the access, what we can do is we can set modal open to false. So once the access will be given, we can again close the modal, okay. And to call this, we can actually go to the share button, okay, this button, and in this we will have the event on click, and by on click we are going to call the sharing function, right. I'm going to call the sharing function. And not only that, we have this cancel button, and what we are going to do is we are simply again going to have this on click, and in this I'm simply going to set the modal open to false once we click on the cancel button. So that's why I was actually passing down the modal use state in the modal component, okay. So let me check this. So if I will open it, so share button is open. When we cancel it, so you can see we are actually closing the modal, right. So by setting the set modal false, we are actually closing the modal. This is good, right. But still we need to work on the sharing functionality much more, because still I haven't actually provided this thing, right, this one, this people with access. So we need to provide the list of all the accounts, and for that I'm going to use the use state component. So you import use effect, not actually use effect component, and inside this use effect component effect, I'm going to create the access list, okay. So this will actually have the people who has access to our account, right. So access list, and I'm simply, okay, let me make this an async function, and inside this I'm simply going to call the address list, means await contract dot share access. So this will share access will actually provide us with all the accounts to whom we have given the access of our account, right. So share access, so access list message.sender will be returned, so it is an array. And now what we will do, we will simply use select document dot query selector, and inside this we will have the select number. So what we are trying to do here is we are trying to create the list, when you will understand it once I will complete this. So options, and in this we will have the address list, okay. And now I will create a loop for let I equal to 0 and I should be less than options dot length I plus plus. So I will take the options I. So this options I will have the list of all the people who we have given the access, right, of our account. And then I will simply create an element. So document dot create element, and this is to create the options element. And inside this options element I will have even dot text content as opt, means the address field, right. So I'm creating this option component and I'm simply having this address field there, And in the same way, we will have the value field, right? So the value will be opt, so that in future, let's say if you want to fetch the value like we have done there, so we can do that as well. And we will simply select, so the select that we have fetched from this select number id, right, this select number id. So we are simply actually creating this option field, right, inside this select the select I will say tag. We are simply creating this option field. So I'm simply going to append this option, select the append child. Okay, so child, and inside this I will provide my e1. So this text content is to show the content on our screen, and this value is the value, right, inside the value, this thing that we do, this value thing. Inside the tag we have the value field, right? So we are actually just creating the option field, and simply once this is done, we are going to call it once we have the access of the contract. And once we will have this, we will simply call this access list function, and inside this I will have my contract. Okay, let me save this. Let me go back to the browser. Let me refresh this, share button. So now if I will click on the people with access, okay, actually I think I didn't have given any access to any user. So let me give some access. So let's say this account wants to give access of his G drive to someone else. Let me check the get data. Okay, so now what I will do is I will simply select some other address. Let's say this address A2C, and I will simply share the access of my account with this A2C D38345. Okay, I will click on share. Now this will, you can see that as soon as I clicked on the share button, we have this MetaMask account open. And why? Because when we are actually sharing the access, we are actually calling the share access function, which is on our smart contract. And this share access function is actually changing the blockchain state of the blockchain. So we need to pay some amount of fees as a transaction, right? As a transaction fee, so that we can do this transaction. Let me confirm this. Okay, let me check whether it is successful or not. Okay, so now this is successful. So if you will go and check the share button, and we will check the people with access. Okay, still we are not seeing the people with access. Okay, there is some issue here. Let me check. Okay, where it is, it should be append child. Let me go back, let me refresh, let me check again. Okay, still we do not have people with access. Why? Let me go back. Okay, for now let me check whether we do have the address list or not. So console.log address list, let's check. So we do have the account, right? So if you will see, we do have this A2C, which actually have the access of our account. Okay, so let me check what's the issue here. Okay, I think it should not be options, but it should be option, right? Okay, I think now we have the access. Yeah, now you can see that. So once this F39 has shared the access to this A2C834, we can see actually the addresses that have access to our G drive. Let me check for the other account as well. So let me go and select some other random account. Let me copy this. Let me go back to the main account. So I will share, I will paste the address, I will click on share. Okay, again we need to confirm the transaction. Let me check. So the transaction is confirmed. Let me check the share, and now we have, okay, so we are seeing actually in multiples of 2, and the reason behind it is actually React.js only, so you do not have to worry about it. For now, just refresh it, just go to people with access. Okay, we are still seeing in 2, right? So the issue is, let me go to React.js code, and let me go to this index.js. Just remove this strict mode. Okay, for now let me remove this. Is actually something which is actually running our code 2 times. So let me go back, let me check again people with access. So now you will see that we have only 2 times the addresses, right, with A2C and then 465. And this is good, right? This is a good movement. This is a hooray movement, right, I will say, because now we have everything working and everything is in the right place. Okay, so this is done, right? This is going so good. So we have all the functionalities of choosing the image, uploading the image on Pinata, then sharing it with other people, and other people can also access those images. But one assignment that I want to give you, that like I have given the access, right, to the people, right? I have given access to the people, with whom I want to share the my G drive, but I haven't created a code in order to revoke these people to access my G drive. So if I will go to my VS Code back again, if I will go to my upload.sol, I have created this allow function as well, right? Now I want you to add this functionality in the decentralized application. I want you to create this functionality where we can also revoke the access of our G drive from our account to whom we have earlier given access of our account by using this allow function. So this will be your assignment, and if you will complete your assignment, do let me know in the comment section, or you can tag me on Twitter or on LinkedIn that okay, I have completed the assignment. So this will be very good for me as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video where we learned so many different things about the about how to create the template part. Let me go through this project, right? Let's go to the project. So in the first part, what we did, first of all, we installed Hardhat. Then we installed React.js. In the Hardhat, we just use our smart contract to deploy it on the Hardhat node, and you can deploy this smart contract wherever you want. But for now, for the tutorial purposes, I have deployed it on the Hardhat node. Right now, after that, I created this client folder, and inside this client folder, I created this components folder, right? And before that, let me go to app.js, where we actually written the code about how to connect to our MetaMask and how to create the instance of our smart contract. Because once we have the instance of our smart contract, we can talk to the smart contract, right? And then you can see that we have all the components listed down, which we are going to use in order to upload the file and to display the file and to create the modal. So let me go to the mode. First of all, let me go to this file upload.js. Let me go to this file upload.js. And inside this file upload.js, we created two functionalities. First one was to retrieve the file, right? To click, like when a user will click on that choose image button, then we are going to retrieve that file. And then we created this another function by the name of handle submit, so that we can upload the retrieved image on the Pinata server, right? On the IPFS network. Now, once we have done this, we have displayed these images on the displayed component, right, by using this particular functionality, right? And we have this a tag so that we can create a hyperlink of the image that we are actually displaying on the browser. And not only that, we created a functionality with the help of which we can give access to other person by this, not actually, this is not for the access part, but by which we can see the images of other G drive if we have access of those G drive, right? And in the modal part, we have seen how we can actually share the access of our G drive to other person. Now, as an assignment, as I said, you have to create one more functionality by which you can revoke the access of a person who has already access to your G drive, okay? And this is the thing with the help of which we created the options list. And then this is it, I think, right? With this, we have completed our tutorial. If you have enjoyed this tutorial and if you have gained some knowledge, do let me know in the comment section, and please click on that like button. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe to this channel, because I'm regularly going to upload new blockchain courses on this channel. And if you have any doubts or queries, you can message me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter, or you can comment section, or you can, go to the comment section of this video and let me know your queries or doubts, and if you have any feedbacks, then also in the comment section of this video. Thank you so much, guys. Meet you soon in the next video.